broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads from over 200 countries and your #1 source in after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing after-shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Yes, thank you. Thank you. I love the applause. Thank you so much. This is Masters of Sex, Season 2, Episode 11. 1 for the money, 2 for the show.
3 to get ready, now go.
Yeah. That's right. And we'll talk about that title a little bit more. My name is Roya, Taheri, and of course, joining me is Gonsalves.
What's up, everybody? It's good to be here once again on the panel.
And tonight's episode was very spicy, I guess.
Yes,
there's no spicy here tonight, but she'll be here next week for sure. So let's talk about the title really quickly. We were discussing it, and it's a race starting jingle. So 1 for the money. And you said it, Lem. You did it best. Do it again.
Yeah, 1 for the money. Let's see, get this right. 1 for the money, 2 for the show, 3 to get ready. Now go.
Sure, that was close.
Yeah.
I have also 1 for the money, 2 for the show, 3 to make ready, and 4 to go.
Oh, there you go.
So it's basically a race, a horse race.
Yeah.
And guys, this was a horse race for some people in the show.
Yes.
But let's go ahead and dive right into the production that's happening in this entire episode.
Yes.
That's the base for it all. And let's talk about Lester. You know, in the CBS production, you would think Lester would be more hands-on.
Yes.
No, they snubbed him.
Poor Lester. I think maybe because he had the sweater vest tucked into his pants, that might have been a reason to snub him. I'm just saying, like, he wasn't camera ready. But I did feel bad. I did feel bad for him, like, on the real, because he put so much work, and you saw in that one scene when he's talking to Dr. Master, and he's kind of, schooling him a little bit, and just saying, like, what he put in and what he did for, the hours and the dedication, and for him to get snubbed like that, it was just, it was kind of wrong. But it's TV, though, and that's kind of what happens.
I got a little worried when that one guy was talking to Lester about the kind of footage that they had.
Dwight.
Yes. When Dwight was talking about, so you have people having sex all the time,
right,
and do you have any of them like stripping down? Is he trying to format a porno? Like,
right.
why is he asking? I understand why he was asking, because they need cutaways, but it just was a little sketchy. I don't trust Dwight.
No, Dwight was...
That's a little sketchy name, sorry. But
Dwight's a sketchy name.
Unless he's from The Office, then
right.
I approve.
It should be like an enforcer. I think part of it was, of course, indicative of the times. People, still trying to embrace this whole faction of sex and what they're talking about. And as you notice, when they're first starting the interview process before they start filming, and he's like, oh, you can't say that word. Oh, you can't say that word. And he's like, these are scientific words. I don't know what else you want me to say.
Yeah, Roger Corin was saying that they have censors and they can't say masturbation.
Exactly.
They can't. Well, I wrote down some other words for it too. That was just like, what can they say? Orgasm.
Right.
Like, that's a key part of their entire project. How... Oh, man.
How do you do that?
Yeah, is there any kind of word? Because it sounded as though whatever the word was, it can't insinuate it. It can't mean it.
Right.
So even like volcano eruption,
right.
can't
say
say that.
Do it.
I can't see Masters saying that word at all.
Right. Maybe pineapples. Yes. Say pineapples.
Can they say pineapple? Or banana? Is banana allowed?
I don't know.
Yeah, but poor Lester, he can't even get onto the production whatsoever. He's basically... he didn't get coffee for them, but that's pretty much the only role he could actually do for him. And good for him for telling Masters, hey, like you mentioned earlier, he was actually more involved in the project than just one of these guys that are walking in and trying to do it. And Shep is trying to help Virginia and Masters promote their work and get help in being something. So, yeah, I feel bad for Lester. I really hope one day something will turn around for him, maybe Barbara. Jane snubbed him.
Right. Well, I think hopefully, you know, and if this is chronicled based on history about Lester's character, then of course he's going to have all the rights of the archives. He's going to be noted in that.
You would think.
Well, yeah. I mean, and I think we're separating the whole fact that this is TV versus the footage scientifically. So,
are you talking about in the show itself, or are you talking about outside as a viewer?
No, I'm talking about in the show itself. I'm saying like this is TV. You know, they were doing a television show, and then Lester has all the archives of footage that he wanted to get, or Dr. Masters wanted him to get, you know, for the scientific study.
Right.
So even though he wasn't part of the whole television portion of it, you know, he's very vital and very important to the
Lester?
study. Yes, exactly. And so, I mean, he's going to get his just due just because, and I think, especially because of the speech he gave. You know, I wanted to stand up and clap for him because that
You
was
did a little.
But I was like, way to do, way to go. You know what I'm saying? Like that, stand up, you know, put him in his place, you know, let him know what it's about. And, you know, he gave him peace of his mind.
I gotta say, Masters, when he was talking to Virginia in the end, and we'll get more into their relationship,
Right.
but he made a comment to Virginia saying, think people will welcome us into their living rooms? Well, guys, we are, because we're watching Masters of Sex. I just love that little pun that they had.
Right.
A little twist, play on words there. But yeah, so let's get into Flo and Austin, our new sex couple.
Yeah, so weird.
Sex slaves.
It's just
I don't-
weird.
I kind of like it because I'm rooting for Flo. I'm like, come on, you can get that guy. You
Yeah.
can get the hottie with the body. You can do it, Flo. Believe, like, she's got confidence. You cannot tell me she has no I guess she doesn't.
It's
She
just
she portrays she has confidence, but I'm
Right.
sure she's not 100% confident, as all of us probably are.
I think Flo is just a prime example of someone who knows what she wants and she's using whatever she can to get it. And that's really what it is. She's you know, by her profession, she's a salesperson. And so she's really selling and kind of, you know, and using you know, Austin as kind of like he's a pawn in a pawn, excuse me.
I was like, pun? I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting. Yeah.
No pun intended. This is fun. This is not intended. He's a pawn in essence, and you know she wants him. She wants him, and even though, and you notice in that line, she says something about I should have wrote it down, but I wish you would like it.
Yeah.
I wish that you
would act like you like it.
Because she obviously knows that she's doing this. He doesn't like it, but he's really doing it for the sake of his job, and so she's using that, and she really doesn't care.
Do you think she's trying to use Austin in a way where it's Pretty Woman-ish, but the roles are reversed? Obviously, the movie hasn't been made yet.
Right.
But where she's trying to make, I guess, have Austin fall in love with her, not
Right.
make, because that's different
Yeah.
entity.
It's a whole entity.
Yeah.
It could be. I mean, I think in her head, she does like him. Like, let's keep it real. I don't know.
Attractive.
Yeah, she likes him. Obviously, she wants to be with him. She's using, you know, of course, she's got him, you know, where she wants him, and kind of in a situation where he can't really do anything else if he wants to keep his job. I think it's going to be the reverse. I think Austin is the one that will actually start to like it, and then will actually fall in love with her. That's what I think is going to happen.
Okay.
I think he's going to be one to catch feelings and realize.
Is this a flu? He's going to catch them feelings.
I mean,
Careful, guys. You might catch it too. Just kidding. No.
feelings.
I'm sorry.
The feelings are airborne.
If only, right?
right. It would be
Be
like,
easy.
Oh, I got that.
Sneeze
new
on you and you
feeling,
fell in love with me.
I fell in love. Yeah. So I think that's what is going to happen. Is that
Okay.
Austin is going to be the one to fall in love with her.
Now, I might be throwing you under the bus for this, and I really apologize ahead of time. Have you seen Gone with the Wind? Ugh, are you going to enjoy the bus?
Okay. So this is it. I've seen it, but it's been so long that I can't remember a lot of stuff.
Okay.
Because I saw it in school. I mean, I'm talking about like school.
So then you're probably not approaching Clark Gable as sexy as Austin might be? Do you
Well, I
think
mean-
Austin had that sexiness that Clark Gable had?
No, I think Clark Gable was like in a league of his own.
Okay.
I don't think Austin is where
Because
Clark
the
Gable's
near
at.
death of him is what's making Flo want to try and react to this whole
Right.
scene with
Right.
Austin and get it. I mean, I don't blame you, Flo. If you got the man, do it. So, but yeah, so we see them at the end of the bet, like at the end of their role playing and having sex, and well, we don't see them have sex, but at the end of that whole thing, we see her kind of trying to snuggle with Austin. And there's little bits that as you're mentioning, that Austin's kind of putting up a wall. He's not letting flow in.
Absolutely.
She tries to share a cigarette with him. Nope, denied. He lights his own. So instead of about to get up and leave, she lays on him. Good for you, Flo.
Yeah.
Good for you.
I did catch that.
Yeah, it was cute. It was cute. So as the episode continues throughout, we see George makes a return. Virginia's ex-husband.
Yes.
I was wondering about him.
Yeah, and the kids too. I mean, obviously the kids have been there, but we haven't seen them.
I was wondering if the son wasn't making an appearance because he's going through that awkward stage of like
Right,
puberty, and they're
right.
like, oh, we don't want to make it seem too far, but now we're 4
Exactly.
years in advance. Bring it on.
Bring it on.
Yeah, kids can look like they're a little older now. That works. Flash forwards are amazing for
Right,
that.
they are.
So
Outstanding.
We find out George is getting his song is making big hits in Europe, and so he's going to go over there and travel and promote the song, promote everything, do live music for it. But he wants to take the kids with him for 6 weeks.
And his wife.
And his wife, yes, we
Right.
find out he's remarried,
Yes,
which is
yes.
amazing. Good for you, George.
And did they mention that? Because I really didn't catch that before.
Well, it's been time it was a subtle kind of
okay,
thing.
it was a kind of
yeah,
subtle thing.
that
Okay.
4 years have passed. I have
it.
a wife.
Okay.
So it's kind of like, no, there's a line.
There it
there's
is.
dots, you know.
Boom. Okay.
Yeah. So he's married to Audrey, and they want to take the kids. But Virginia is like, no, I want the kids.
Exactly.
I want to be selfish. I want to keep them. But she's honestly not she's so focused on her work.
She is.
We haven't even seen the kids. That's
Right.
how focused she is on the
They
work.
haven't even had time to be on the
regardless
show.
of the flash forward and all age difference. But she doesn't want to let them go. Do you think Virginia was in the right for not wanting to let them go, like her motherly instinct kicking in, or do you think she should have let the father?
Well, and of course and by the end of the show, it hadn't been determined as of yet. I mean, it looked like at the end she kind of conceded and said that they were going to be able to go. But I think her initial, not the resistance, was motherly. I don't think she was being selfish by any means. I mean, now you got to look at his history. He hasn't had the best history. When we saw him last season, when he was more prevalent, he had, musician, but he was kind of coming and going and wasn't really stable with the
Right.
kids and stuff like
Always
that.
need money.
Exactly. So, and she even, asked that. I wonder, are you asking for money?
Yeah.
Type that it came up. So I think that is part of it. And then part of it is just, she's the mother. The kids are normally with her most of the time. So you're going to take my children, even though granted, she is very busy with her work. And like the other gentleman was saying, I see you running out, when she was talking to the attorney and said,
Mr.
asking for-
Schwigley.
right.
I think that's what Schwibley.
Yeah, asking for some
Mr.
advice.
Schlieb.
Schlieb. Herb Schlieb. That was a weird name.
He's a fun guy
Yeah.
with a fun last name.
Herb Spleeb. So yeah, Mr. Spleeb. She was talking to him, and he was like, "Yeah, I see you rushing because again, she's a mother." So I think initially you have a right.
Yeah.
I think she had every right to be like, "No, I don't think that's a good idea." And I think she did, of course, think about it, and you talked to Mr. Spleeb, got his opinion about it.
And he brought up some
whatnot.
great points,
He
saying
did.
there's been no issues with custody right now,
Exactly.
so why raise a flag if George might actually fight it? You shouldn't do that.
Exactly.
Like, things are good, just let it be.
Exactly.
And kind of let it go. It's a vacation for you.
Right.
That's what he said. And I was like, wow.
And I think, but the hard part is, and we saw that when the kids were conversing with the mother, talking about, because it's during the holidays, and during Thanksgiving and Christmas. And it's like, her daughter is like, oh, who's going to give you gifts? And that kind of like,
That daughter,
yeah,
man. I thought she would have a better than being so lippy.
Yeah.
I mean, I know she's Virginia's daughter.
I was going to say she's Virginia's daughter. What do you expect?
But where was Virginia's? Hey.
Right.
Like, watch it.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. I mean, fast forward to present day, a mother losing their, or not losing, but not having them children there during the holidays.
Right. And even right there, when we were talking about the daughter kind of giving lip back to the mom, the babysitter, when the son was giving lip to his sister, the babysitter was the one to be like, hey, you needed to what did I tell you about not talking about her like that? Where was Virginia's response? She didn't really say anything. So we know her mothering skills have turned down just a little bit.
Well, she has other people raising her daughter.
Exactly.
And was it the babysitter or was that George's
That was the
wife?
babysitter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, and then there was a scene that George's wife was saying the same thing, kind of giving, kind of not lecturing, but, what you would do with the children, and when he said something, kind of giving some
She would
response
save
to
some
it.
money.
Yeah,
What's
exactly.
wrong with that?
So I think for her though, I think it's just seeing them, and she knows that she's busy, and she's in essence, quote unquote, married to this work. She's kind of seeing that her kids are being raised by other people, and it's hard because, yes, she loves her children, but at the same time, she loves this work and she really wants to be dedicated. Yeah. So I think it's an internal struggle for her overall.
Yeah, and even Master said it in the interview that they are not married to each other; they are married to their work.
Exactly.
So she's really got to choose what she's going to do.
Right.
But before we jump into some sexy time with Libby and Robert, I want to say thank you guys so much for your comments and ratings on iTunes and YouTube. It's been awesome. Thank you guys, and we will keep the conversation going. I know Jenna's been very good at keeping up with the conversations. I'm trying my best to catch up on that. But guys, thank you so much. Appreciate it. We only have one more episode left, so let's get this conversation continuing again for this episode before the finale. Shall we get into some Libby?
Oh man, this was serious business right here.
Okay, before we talk about them as an item, let's talk about Libby and her transformation through this episode, because it was a long day. She first shows up to the production thinking, hey, I'm here to do an interview with Masters. Oh, here's your tie that you don't own, but it's yours. Here you go. So she's expecting to be on camera eventually. Masters is kind of like, who are you? What? No. What? Okay, yeah, sure. So sorry. So she feels kind of left out. Meanwhile, she's still waiting to get on camera. She's sitting in the lobby with George, and I wrote down his name. The key guy it's on this page, Harold.
Yes.
Harold, the key guy, who's also a booker for races. Maybe that's a little tie there, too, a little bit. And they're talking about, George is like, who are you and what's your relation? Oh, you're her. You're a looker. Could not expect that. And then Harold pipes in after Libby makes a comment that she's married. She's the woman behind the man.
Right.
That's a lot to be behind.
It is.
But then he goes, sweetheart, if that was a race, no way you'd be winning the money.
Right. You would lose.
Ouch.
Yes.
Who are you, Harold? To say that you already found out she's married to Masters, who owns the building. What?
I think when you like make keys for a living, you're just kind of bossy.
So you can enter anything you want to do.
Exactly, including people's emotions.
Well, you know what? It's karma, and that's why he wasn't able to go to the bathroom and he got the wrong key. It's because he's
is that what it
D. Was? Yeah, he's so mean. I hope you get a bladder infection for saying that, Harold. Jeez.
UTI.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys think he was in the right for saying that, you're really mean.
Yeah, no, it was. I couldn't. Of course, we looked at it twice. Just to make sure we saw what he said and
understood it the right way. We're like,
did he really say that?
It's our head saying that.
Well, but even though again, it was a harsh words to say, it was the truth.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's the truth. And I think she had to look at it because if you notice before that, there was a period where she was kind of looking on while they were, doing the taping.
Yeah.
And she kind of had this long, look on her face when they were talking about like, oh yeah, we're married to the work and how does it feel when someone, that's with you and talking about Virginia, how she helps out Masters and all this kind of stuff. And it was like they were in a relationship.
Yeah.
And so she's looking at this and she's like, this is my husband and I don't get this kind of support at home.
Yeah.
And that's how I took it. And so after that comment's made, it all made sense. And again, it was very harsh, but it was the truth. And she saw it and she's like, you're right. And that's exactly what she said.
And
she said, you're right.
What's also interesting is that she made a comment to Virginia about wearing the same colored dress. And Virginia goes, it's black and white. It's not going to be a problem.
Right. There was something in there.
Yeah.
You caught that too?
A little snippy there, but we'll get into why that helped Libby's cause at the end with Robert and feeling invisible. But yeah, and then she goes, before that whole comment by Harold, she's downstairs talking to Robert in the group, and she's like, did you hear? And you're like, yeah, did you hear the news? They don't know if he's going to make it. And I thought she was talking about Martin Luther King. She's like, no, I was talking about Gable. What do you guys? And they just look at her like, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Come on now.
She says to Robert that she can't go and help them with anything that they're about to go do because she has to stay around for Masters. And then that ties us back upstairs where she's waiting and waiting. And then she finds out she's not needed.
Right.
Really, she's really not needed.
At all.
That sucks.
But but this is, again, let's go back to, go back to season 1.
Right.
I mean, she's kind of been not needed the whole time. I mean, Masters is she's been his wife. on paper. They have children, but he's not even really doing anything with the children. He's not.
He hasn't said their name.
Right. It's like, what's her
the
name
boy,
again?
the girl.
Boy, right. So, but as far as their relationship as a couple, they don't have one.
Right.
They're more or less sleep in different beds. I mean, let's keep it real. So I think, and then seeing that he's spending more time with Virginia doing the work, and he sees that, and he sees what they have together. She's just like, you know what? I can't deal with this anymore. And I think she comes to a point of realization where, if this is the way it's going to be, excuse me, I got to get my happiness somewhere else.
Yeah.
And there's, in walks Robert.
I wonder if that was a 3 strikes, like, oh, I'm done with this type thing. Was the first one was when Master says, oh, what are you doing here? That kind of thing. And then the second one's Virginia's little comment about the dress.
Right.
And the third one is Harold being a D and, not being nice.
Right.
So that was just finally like, oh,
for that
forget
day.
this.
For that day, yeah. But this has obviously been ongoing for years, since he started to study, or I should say started working with Virginia.
I gotta say, for Libby, she's always been a character that I've had issues with through this entire series.
Me as well.
But honestly, this season has really put her up on the... I mean, she was a little crazy this season.
Right.
But we're starting to understand why was that crazy
Exactly.
and why she was acting the way she was. It's not just, oh, I'm acting this way because I can. There's little reasonings behind it all.
Well, I got on Team Libby soon as she started to work for the coalition, for where Robert works.
Yeah.
And she started volunteering. Like, as soon as she did that, I was like, oh, okay, because that take a lot of guts.
For sure.
She's a Caucasian woman working for an African American organization. She's the only one there, and she's not like she's put on a pedestal like she's normally used to be treated by other people. She's kind of like the runner. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Can you get us some coffee or get us some sandwiches? She's the low man, but she's doing that because she feels like she needs to give back, or she needs to, for whatever reason,
she needs purpose.
Exactly, because
in the business world, because she's a mother, so
exactly
she's purpose in that way. But
and she feels like inadequate in that regard,
Yes.
because she's not supported by her husband. So, and the fact that it's in the same building, I mean, it's a lot of tied in, but once she decided to do that, I was definitely on her team.
And
for
you could
sure.
tell through this entire episode, Masters was not even thinking about her whatsoever. Even at the end. Is everyone gone? Yeah, okay. Oh, your wife that you rode in with, what about
Right.
her?
Exactly.
So we're left downstairs with Robert and Libby makes that comment where I'm just going to call a cab because I don't have a ride. Masters was my ride. And that's when Robert picks up his keys. I love that little subtle, well, I can drive you,
Right.
without even having to say it.
Right.
So they pull up to her house, and they're talking. It's more Robert is testing Libby, and Libby kind of calls him out on it. Meanwhile, as they're doing that, a cop car drives by, and I'm like, uh-oh.
And
Something
you know what's
bad.
coming. You know that's coming.
Yeah, like, why would they show a cop driving by?
Exactly. It's the 50s.
Tensions are
not
very
in the
high,
Right.
yeah.
Exactly. Not in the right. And then, of course, Martin Luther King had, again, just been arrested. So
Yep.
there's a lot of tensions high. And then he's in the neighborhood that's normally a white neighborhood.
Yep.
And so obviously, and I don't even think it was because she was with him. It was because he was there.
Yeah, exactly. The cop's just like, damn it.
Yeah.
The white lady's in the car, too.
Right.
Man,
Right.
I don't care.
Right. And he
But-
still had issues.
Yeah, and so the cop comes up to the car with flashlight in hand, flashlight in Robert's eyes the entire
Right,
time.
right.
He did not let that go.
At all.
And then Libby steps up, and she finally, maybe it was a test in a way that Robert had never expected to put Libby in through, but she passed because she saved him in a way where the cop was like, license and registration. She goes,
Right.
no, sir, this gentleman. I love how she called him Mr. I didn't catch what his last name was. Did
Oh,
you?
yes. Yeah. No, I did not. I
But
did
she
not.
called Robert by his last name.
Yes.
She was very polite about it.
Exactly.
Because I invited him in. And then Robert just looks at her.
Yeah.
What?
Right.
Do you know what you're about to do?
Right.
Okay. So then Robert gets out of the car, and the cop obviously stands in the way to be hit by the door. So that way it can cause another issue between them. And the entire time, why? I mean, I understand why he was doing it during that time, but the flashlight in Robert's eyes, God,
Yeah.
Robert had some willpower to. I mean, he did try and smack it out of his face, like
Right.
get it out of my face, but
Right.
to let it go, and just
I
keep
mean,
walking.
it just shows you it's indicative of the times. You know, people of color, during that time, 50s, 60s. I mean, obviously well beyond, but especially in that right, that's something they had to endure. You know, they had to endure that, and it was like, it was tough. You know what I'm saying? I remember hearing my mother and of course my grandmother talking about things that they went through because they were from the South, and they lived in the South, and it was, you know, it wasn't like out here, you know, in on the northern side, but and what they had to deal with, and it was like you just did what you have to do to get by, to get, you know, to the next day, and it wasn't ideal. You had to bite your tongue in so many instances, and it was so good, and I'm glad that they showed this in this show. I said this before when they, you know, when the season started and they started delving into that, because I think it's important. It's important to see what went on and kind of just remember that.
How far do you think they're going to go with that for this show? How far do you think they're going to show us the brutality that went down?
Well, I think once, from what I understand, in season 3, they are going to delve more into, because there's going to be going into the 60s now, and furthering the work. And of course, the 60s is when the culmination of the civil rights happened. And that's when Martin Luther King was, you know, assassinated and all that kind of stuff that happened. So I think that there's, I believe if that's going to happen, they're going to push it more. They're going to push it more. I do believe.
Cool. Well, I'm excited for season 3.
Yeah.
Hey guys, season 3.
Season 3.
I mean, I'm not excited to see how. Anyways, I'm just gonna stop talking about.
It's all good.
So Robert gets his shirt ripped by the cop, and they go into the house.
Yeah.
And
before you begin, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Now, of course, you know, from the series of events, the cop does this, and then, you know, she says that he's going to go into the house with her, and that's how he kind of gets the cop out of their face, so to speak. Do you think that she had an ulterior motive for bringing him into the house? I mean, we obviously know what happened. We're going to talk about it, but do you think that she was thinking that right then and there?
Like, hey, this is my opportunity to be like bound chicken, that.
In a sense, like maybe not all the way, but she knew she felt something for him.
I think she knew it was her. She had the power to save him, compared to times where he's been able to save her. So I think it was more just her being genuine and trying to help him. Okay. Because she knew the tension was high, and that if she got out of the car and left him alone, that something bad would happen to Robert.
Right.
So I think that's what she was going for.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Just curious.
Yeah.
Just curious.
But then when we get into the house, and she goes, come into my bedroom, sit here on this bed next to this lamp, take your shirt off, let me fix your button. She tried so many ways to get that going. It's subtle to get that tension. Yeah. But it didn't work. Robert, I applaud you for being such a gentleman. Yes, applaud to that. For being such a gentleman to Libby during this time, because you know there's that sexual tension, and he still was, nope, I can't. I'm going to protect you, because if I come into your room, bad stuff will happen to you, and good stuff. But so they go out into the kitchen, and that's when she's fixing the button, and the button's too big. To fit into the hole. So he goes, no, don't worry about it. I'll go down to a neighbor and get my shirt fixed that way. And then they have this she has a monologue about how she's invisible. No one sees her. And for the fact that Robert was able to cause trouble as a kid, she envies that, because she was never able to do that. She's always had to go by rules and pathways, you know, kissing, being a teacher's pet. But then once you get to a certain age, you don't have that goal or that aspiration of doing that kind of stuff. So she has to figure it out on her own of why she wants to do what she wants to do. So she's lost. And she says, if you kiss me, maybe I'll be able to figure it out.
That was funny to me.
He's like her little prince.
Right.
You know, true love's kiss will break the curse of Libby's confusion. And I was down for that. Yeah. So happy. Sexual tension. Finally. Damn.
Well, we've been talking that she needed. I mean, you know, the first season. You know, we were on the panel of the first season, and we were talking about
the janitor,
right. The guy that came was like, "Oh man, we hope that that something happens with them." Nothing happened, of course. And so here's another opportunity, and obviously, like I think. I'm glad that she finally got. I mean, she's been so underrepresented in this series the whole time. I mean, and obviously this is her life. You know, this is how she's been, and it's like she never has gotten what she's wanted. Right. She's always had to cater to Masters, and he's always treated her like crap. And anytime, and then Virginia playing second fiddle, and based on that comment, the woman who's behind the man,
and she'll never win.
And she's always always, and she's been that way ever since she's been in the picture. So it's like, it's almost like she's due finally, you know, even though she's had kids and she wanted children, but I really think she wanted children because she thought it'd bring her closer to Masters.
Yeah.
And it did not. So it was like every plan that she had to be this loving, doting wife that she's been taught to be, like she said in her monologue, it just never worked. And she stayed and she stayed and she stayed. And finally, I think this was her opportunity to kind of just like, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. Yep.
And can we talk about how before, when she would have sex with Masters, she would, when we seen them have sex, and he goes, "You're quiet." Well, we have kids in the other room. Well, Robert makes that same comment to her. You have kids down the hall, but they're going at it. She's enjoying it, and I'm so happy. I think this is the first time I wrote it down. Where did I write it down? First time we see Libby actually like moan and enjoy herself having sex.
She was smiling.
She was smiling.
Like she was legitimately smiling.
You know, she looked over. She saw her hands cupped in Robert's hand, like holding hands. She looked over and she smiled. Ah! I don't know if it's love or what it is, but I'm just so happy for Libby.
It's passion. It's definitely passion. It's definitely passion.
And on the kitchen floor. Yes. Good job, Libby. Might want to clean that later, but yes.
I mean, it was due. It was due. I think it was so long. I mean, because we know, it's not a spoiler alert. If you know the real story, you know, Virginia and Masters end up getting married. So obviously there's a divorce that happens. So how it got to that point historically, you know, obviously there was a lot that went on, and I'm sure the show is depicting a lot of what went on.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think she needed something. She needed something to that would she could call her own, something that she could feel, you know, passionate about, because there was nothing. She had nothing to go with. Nothing. The kids wasn't giving it to her. Masters wasn't given to her. Even with this job, I mean, if you think now that I know what's happened, part of her taking the job was because Robert was there.
Yeah. Well, Robert was testing her and always kind of pushing her to be something instead of being just that housewife.
Exactly.
And I love that about
Robert. Because if you think about it, even I think it kind of started when she went and she followed and went to her home, and then he found out that it wasn't her husband, it was her brother. The one
you're talking about
the one that used to be her caretaker.
Yes.
I can't remember her name, but you know what I'm talking about. When she said it, she thought it was her. She thought it was her. You know, when she thought it was her husband, it was a different situation. She saw him as like, oh, whatever. But as soon as she found out it was the brother, and then didn't she have like a scrape on her leg or something like that? And he went to
caught.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's when the magic like like happened, and then from then on, I think she's been like, you know,
feeling it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I agree. So I'm super happy that they're together and they're having enjoyable sex. They're loving it. Meanwhile, Virginia and Masters are still having some issues. We thought, honestly, I thought maybe they got it fixed. Maybe Masters was able to kind of, I figured it out. I'm stressed and I need to let everything out. Nope, because he's still stressed out about everything else that's happening with CBS and everything. He still can't get it going with Virginia. And so he's still got a problem that they need to fix. And that's something that he's having an issue throughout the entire production when CBS is there, is because he can't even fix himself.
Right.
How is he supposed to fix other people if he can't fix himself?
Right.
And you go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I think that's just been a struggle of his, you know, throughout the whole season. Whereas, you know, he even adamantly says we have not, there's a one point in time we have not fixed anything. You know, we have not fixed any sexual dysfunction. Like that has not happened. It's like, oh, well, you're in this, you know, baby stages, or, you know, it's, you know, you've started the work or whatever. But his thing is we have not fixed it. And I think that's kind of indicative of himself. I have not fixed myself. So how can I portray this, you know, embodiment of, you know, of someone who's successful or someone who's perfect, because he's always got like, even down to his bow tie, you know, they wanted him to wear a necktie.
I love that explanation about his bow tie. I was always wondering, why does Masters wear a bow tie? And it's because so it doesn't get in the way of the exam.
Exactly.
It's like, duh.
It's like everything is precise with him. So it's like, but he has this, obviously this issue of his own internal self that he's not able to perform. And because of that, now it just is messing up and clouding everything else up.
And he's still drinking again. So maybe he is an alcoholic that we don't even know about.
Very possible.
So we'd have to wait and see about that. How that's going to play out down the road, especially in season 3, because we only have one more episode left. But at the end of this episode, we see Virginia and Masters talking about that. And Masters like, what do you even see with me? Why are you attracted to me? What is there? What about me is it that you like? No one. These people that are going to watch this on CBS are not going to like me. They'll like you, not me. What? He's having real self confidence
I mean, he's
issues.
calling himself not attractive.
Right.
He's he's obviously, he knows that he's not, he doesn't have that twinkle that he said that the president has. And so he just feels like he's just very, very inadequate. He's in a state of inadequacy, and he keeps talking about it, and he feels like, Virginia is holding it down, but he's like, they're going to want to watch you. They're not going to want to care about me, even though I felt like he was getting his stride there for a while when he started talking about it. But even still, like, he has this internal struggle inside.
And all he wanted, or all he really needed at that moment, was a hug. Virginia comes up to him and hugs him. And that's when he starts to push her off. And she's like, no, take it. Take my hug. Yeah.
You better
take
get
it.
this hug, man.
Enjoy it. And then he just kind of lets it go. And it's another moment where, in season 1, where we saw him cry in front of her.
Yes.
Another intimate moment.
It was. I mean, to the fact where she was like at the end, before the credits came, she was cradling him, there on the floor.
Of their exam room, too.
Exactly. So I think that it just goes to show, just like that previous scene that you just mentioned, this scene, there's been other scenes, like Virginia is his backbone. Virginia is like his life support. Like, without Virginia, even with the end of the last season, how he comes to the door, Virginia is his life support, and he can't really do this. Like, he cannot do this study without her.
Right.
I mean, that's the bottom line. Like, none of this, even though it didn't start that way, but because she's in the picture and because, he loves her, let's keep it real. He loves her.
Hashtag, let's keep it real.
Let's keep it real. Hashtag. He can't do this without her. I mean, and it's been proven. It's been proven time and time again when she was working somewhere else, you know what I'm saying, with the other doctor, and she wasn't there. He tried to have the assistant. That didn't work out. He cannot do this study without her. But more or less, he cannot function as an individual without her.
I agree. 100% I agree. And hopefully they can figure out together why he's not able to perform. But we won't find out maybe if they'll fix that or not until next week's episode.
Right.
Let's get into some predictions.
Let's do that.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Lem, what do you think's going to happen next week? The finale.
The finale. Oh, man.
Wait, really quickly.
Okay.
This episode that we just watched, comparison to last season's 11th episode, before the finale, what did you think in comparison? Was it better? Or was it, because honestly, to me, I thought it was like, damn, this is good. I don't know why I'm getting so ghetto, but yeah, pen drop. It was good. I was happy for the episode before the finale.
This was, I'm just going to say it trumps it simply because it's such a, you just have such a dichotomy there with so much going on. One thing that you said, and I didn't think about it until just now when you said it earlier, you probably want to know, it was brilliant, because I always think you're a genius, Roya.
Thank you.
This whole episode was a day long.
Yeah.
This entire episode took place in one day. And I don't remember that happening in any of the previous episodes. But that goes to show that they really wanted to milk this, everything that was going on with the broadcasting, with all the characters and everything.
Do it with the boxing scene. Remember when they had sex scene?
Oh, did they do it then
hotel,
too?
Yeah, that was one day.
That was all one day? Okay. Well,
sorry. But again, this season they're doing more of like one long day of a lot of drama happening with all the characters and plot points. But next week's episode, what do you think's going to happen? Sorry, we're running short on time.
Okay. So next week's episode, I think that, of course, it's going to continue with Robert and Libby. We saw her going into his house. I think that he's going to be very resistant, though, because now it's real. You know what I'm saying? Whereas like that one time, okay, cool, but I think he's going to be resistant to her. So I don't know how she's going to feel about that, but I think that's definitely going to happen. And I think that, of course, the kids are going to go to Paris, and I think that Virginia is going to feel some kind of way when the kids leave. Like, she's going to have kind of a meltdown, breakdown kind of situation.
Okay. Cool, I like that. I'm going to make mine really simple and short, but I think something really bad's going to happen to Robert because of his new relationship with Libby. Nothing to do with Masters finding out, more just because of the white and black kind of relationship. And if she comes to his house, that's going to cause a lot of talk in his apartment building.
Sure.
So we'll see what happens with next week for the finale, episode 12. But in the meantime, where can the people find you?
The people can find me when I'm not here at AfterBuzz Studios on social media, and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at The Poet Saint, and that's all day, every day.
Sweet. And guys, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Hey Roya. That's HeyRoya. Guys, someone is seeing you, as Libby would say, and we are seeing you, wherever you are, the camera angle. So we will see you next week, guys. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Peace.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.